Hello guys, welcome to J Viral. My name is Jackie and today I decided to do a story time. So let's get right into this video. So going back to 2017, I had recently moved back from Florida back to Indiana. I had met him in high school. I was 16 and he was 18, I believe. And I would like always see him in school and I thought he was so cute. And I'm like, dang, he's so cute, whatever. And then like he was in my geometry class and he would sit behind me, but I didn't really talk to anybody since I was the new girl and I was like shy and stuff. So then he somehow got my Snapchat and he Snapchatted me and I'm like, wait, I don't recognize this Snapchat name, so I'm not sure who it is. So I opened the message and he's like, hey and stuff, and I'm like, who's this? I'm like, I don't know you. Who's this? And he tells me his name and he's like, you know what? I'm in your geometry class and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I was like, okay, I kind of remember you, but I'm not sure. So then he sent me a picture of himself and I was like, oh yeah, I know who you are. Now I know and stuff. So then we literally like talked the weekend and he had asked me out like that next week. So it was like pretty quick. So then I told him yes because I was like, you know what, he's cute, whatever, I'm gonna give him a chance. So then we started dating, and as we were dating, you know, we got to know each other more and more. And then so then I didn't tell my dad or I didn't tell my mom about him because, you know, I didn't want to get whooped or anything. It was like, oh, you know what, I want to see you outside of school and stuff. And I'm like, me being the cool kid, because I didn't want to tell him that my dad was strict and he wasn't going to let me out. I was like, yeah, you know what, of course, you know, of course my parents would let me, yeah, whatever. So then I seen him for the first time outside of school and we hung out and stuff like that. And then a couple months later I got pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant, mind you, because you know I had barely conceived. So then our relationship was good, but then it started like going down and stuff. And then we had like a little breakup. I want to say the beginning of July. Yeah, the beginning of July, we had, or August, we had broken up, and I didn't get my period. So then I like, me and my sister are really close, so I tell her everything. So then I was telling her like, hey, you know what, I didn't get my period and it's been a while and stuff. Like first it was a week and then a month and now it's like 2 months. And it was she was like, you know what, you're probably pregnant. And I was like, no, I don't, you know what, I know I'm not pregnant, my period's gonna come, don't worry, whatever. Like, I knew I was pregnant, but I didn't want to accept the fact that I was pregnant because I didn't want to disappoint my parents. So then I kept that feeling inside to myself. Like I didn't even tell my sister. So then she was like, you know what? No, you have to take a pregnancy test so we can make sure that you aren't pregnant. And then I was like, okay. I was like, okay, I guess I'll take it. I have no choice now. It comes like a couple days later and she bought a test. And then I had told my boyfriend at the moment when we were broken up, I was like, you know what? I'm pregnant. And he didn't believe me. So then I was like, you know what? I don't got time for you right now. I'm worried about this. So then I took a test and it came out positive. And then I made him bring me tests to make sure that I was pregnant. And so then I'm in the restroom. My sister's in the restroom with me. And I pee on this stick. And instead of taking like 2 minutes, it literally took like 2 seconds. And you just see 2 dark blue lines. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I just look at my sister and my sister's like excited and stuff. She's just like jumping up and down and stuff. She's like, how does it feel? And I'm like, well, I don't feel anything yet. And we were like really quiet because my parents actually were sleeping at the moment. So I told him it came out positive and stuff, and I showed him, he wanted to see proof, so I showed him the proof and I was pregnant. But like I kept telling my sister, I was like, you know what, these tests are probably messed up, you know, I'm not pregnant. So then we have like this facility and it's called Women's Care Center, and they basically give you like free ultrasounds and free like pregnancy tests and stuff like that. So she sent me an appointment there and I went and I took my test and everything and it came out positive. So that confirmed my pregnancy. So then going on to my boyfriend telling his parents at the time. So then he tells his parents, and his mom and dad didn't really have any reaction. They just said that he had to, like, it's a bigger responsibility, so now he has to work for the baby. So then mind you, my dad is really strict, so I didn't want to tell my parents that I was pregnant. I actually wanted to keep it for them as much as I can. So then my sister, she's like, you have to tell mom and dad, stop hiding it for them. Eventually your stomach is going to get bigger and you have to tell them. And I'm like, you know what? I cannot tell them. I cannot. Like, I would say that I could, but like when I would see their face, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to disappoint them, and no, I'm not doing it. So then I was like, you know what? I will eventually tell them or whatever. So then my sister was actually like tired of me holding it in, because she was like, you know what, you need to see a doctor, make sure the baby's fine, make sure you're taking the right vitamins, or what, all the care the baby needs. So then my sister grew tired of me waiting to tell my parents, because it was like literally 2-3 weeks from when I knew that I was already pregnant. My sister actually told my mom that I was pregnant, and my mom didn't really have a reaction because my dad didn't know yet. So then a week after my mom knew, I actually told my dad that I had a boyfriend. My dad didn't really believe me because we joke a lot. So then he didn't believe me, and I was like, okay, you know what? Just don't believe me, whatever. But I'm telling you the truth. So then a couple of days after that, my sister's like, you know what, I'm just going to call dad in here, and you're going to tell him that you're pregnant, because we're not going to wait any longer. So what she does is call my dad into my room, and I'm sitting on my bed, and I'm like just covering my face like that, and I'm crying, and I'm like, no, Darcy, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. I can't do this. And me and my dad really have like a close, tight relationship. So then my dad comes in the room, and he's like, what's going on? He's like, I know you're going through something. Just tell me, trust me. I'm your father, and I will always be there for you no matter what you do. And so then at that point, I was like, dang, that like really touched my heart. And so then my dad was waiting there for me to tell him, and I was not going to tell him whatsoever. So then I was just sitting in the bed, covering my face, crying and stuff, and my dad was waiting for me to tell him. And this was like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then my sister's like, you know what, just tell him, or I'm going to tell him. And I'm like, no, just leave it. And my dad was like listening to everything, because, he was standing right here. So then my dad, like after a while, he already knew that I was pregnant, but I didn't want to tell him. He knows that I was pregnant and stuff. And then I was just crying, and I was just like shaking my head yes and no to whatever he would say. So then after that, my dad cried a lot. My mom actually did too. So then I had texted my boyfriend, and I had told him, I was like, you know what, you need to bring your parents, and you need to meet my parents too, and because this is like a big step. So then a week later, he brings his parents, and they meet my parents. And then they were basically just talking about how, it's a big responsibility. They gave us that talk. So then after that, my pregnancy was going well. I actually made it to 41 weeks, I believe. And then I gave birth. I actually had like a complicated kind of labor, but that would be a different video. And so then after that, after I gave birth, we lived together. We had moved in together, and we were raising the baby together and stuff like that. So then after that, months went by. My parents decided to go back to Florida, so they moved back to Florida. And then when my son Alexander was 6 months old, I got pregnant again. I didn't know I was pregnant, but when he was 6 months, I got pregnant of my second son. Actually, in November, we had went to Florida to go visit my family and spent Thanksgiving over there. And then we came back, and then we actually went to Mexico the next year and stuff. And mind you, I didn't know I was pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant again, but I didn't get my period. And then on top of that, I was taking these birth control pills. And these pills, you know, you have to take them on a daily in order for them to work. I didn't. I would take them one day yes, one day no, one day yes, one day no. So then I was like, I would tell him, I'm like, you know what? I haven't got my period, but I think it's these pills because I remember my doctor telling me. I wasn't taking them the way I was supposed to. So then we went to Mexico the next year, and then we came back, and my sister had like, okay, so when we were on the plane going to Mexico, I had felt like this movement, and I'm like, what the heck? So then I'm just looking down at my stomach, and I just tap my boyfriend, and I'm like, and I tell him to look down to my stomach, but then I didn't feel the movement after that. But I really thought, like, I was really nervous on the plane ride, so I was like, you know what, it's probably my nerves working up on me and stuff. And so then after that, I just ignored the fact that I felt this movement. So then, you know, we're enjoying our time in Mexico and stuff. We were over there for 2 weeks, and then we came back, and then I told my sister that, you know, I enjoyed my trip, and I told her everything about my trip, and then I told her that I didn't get my period. But mind you, in Mexico, like, I started to spot, and I'm like, okay, you know, my period is coming back, yay. I'm glad, because, you know what, I don't want no more kids. So then my period comes. So my period doesn't come, I'm sorry. It, like, I just started spotting, and that was only like literally like for an hour. And I was telling my sister, I was like, you know what, I still haven't got my period, but I think it's these pills, you know. But I didn't tell anybody that I wasn't taking them right. I was supposed to take them on a daily, like I knew how to take them, I just wasn't. Take this pregnancy test and stuff, and I was like, no. So then she had a job and I had a job, so she just had a job. So she came at night to my house. I was living with my boyfriend, and she brought pregnancy test, and I made my boyfriend buy some too. So then he bought like the cheap ones from like Dollar Tree, and then I made my sister buy like more expensive ones to make sure that it was the correct, you know, result. I take this test. The first test doesn't show anything. It doesn't show positive, and it doesn't show negative. So that's how we know we messed up on that test. So then the second test, we only had 2 tests. So we had one down, and we had to do the next. So then we take the second test, facing down, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to know the result. I don't want to know anything. Like, I don't. I was already stressed out, facing down on the sink, and she looks at it, and she picks it up, and her face reaction just tells me everything. It just told me that I was pregnant again. Let me see that. And I quickly like grab it, and I snatch it, and I look at it, and it just says positive. And I'm like, no. This is incorrect. This time for real, this is not working. So then it was like 11:30 at night, I want to say. So then we quickly went to Walmart, and then we actually bought more tests and stuff, and we took them again. And I was really mad because me and my boyfriend weren't at the point we wanted to be in life. Like, you know, we didn't have our own house. You know, we barely made enough money for our first son, top of me. And this was my senior year in high school. And then once I seen that the results came back positive, I started crying and everything. My sister hugged me. She's like, you know what, do you want to call mom right now? And I'm like, no, we're not telling her. Here I go again with the same thing. And I threw them to my boyfriend, and I'm like, you know what, it's your fault. It's your fault that I'm pregnant again. And I was just crying so much. Like, I didn't want him to touch me. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was just so stressed at that point, and I felt like I wasn't going to be strong enough to do it. Actually, with my parents moving to Florida, which really affected me, you know, the test came out positive, and they did me an ultrasound and stuff. And at this point, they tell me how far I was. I was actually 28 weeks when I found out. So I want to say that's like about 7 months throughout my pregnancy. I was 7 months pregnant. I did not know, and I'm barely finding out. So when the lady like puts like the gel and then like the ultrasound thing on my stomach, and I see it in the screen, I just see like this big baby, and I'm like, wait, that looks like a toddler. Like, I was like, make sure there's not two babies. Like, I was like being really rude to her. And I was like, you know what? Make sure there's not two babies. I already have one. And, you know, I was going crazy. So she made sure, and it was only one baby in there. Sure enough, so I did not have twins. And so then she's like just going around and stuff, and I just see this big baby on the screen, and I'm like, oh my God. And then that's when she tells me I'm 27, it was like 27 or 28 weeks. And then I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm just looking at my boyfriend, and I'm just like I didn't know what to say. So then we actually go see like my real OBGYN, and they tell me I'm like 20, I think it was like 28 weeks and 5 days, if I'm not mistaken. So at this point, I could already know the gender. You know, the good thing is that my son came out really healthy and stuff. But at this point, I can know the gender. I didn't have a stomach, but I was like, I just had like my baby fat from my previous baby. So then they tell me, so actually I had a gender reveal for my second son. And my sister actually did it for me. And sure enough, it was another boy. Everybody thinks that I had twins and stuff because I dressed them alike and everything. But no, I did not have twins. My son right now currently is 1 year old, and then my baby is 3 months. So then, fast forward, whatever, to make this short, I eventually tell my mom, and my mom didn't really have a reaction, and my dad didn't either. They weren't upset because they already had went through that with me with my first child. So then my second one, they were excited. And at this point, they're both two healthy babies. My parents actually haven't met the baby yet, but hopefully they will soon. And yeah, that's how my pregnancy went. It was a crazy journey for my second one, actually, because I found out really, really late, but I didn't have a stomach at all. So that's why. And then my first one, I found out, I want to say at 3 months. Yeah, I was 12 weeks, so 3 months. And yes, it was just a crazy journey. But yes, I do have 2 children, and they're both boys. One is Alexander, and the other one is Alexavier. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this video is all over the place, but I tried my best, and I just wanted you guys to know my journey of me being a teen mom. And yes, it's pretty hard, actually. It's a lot of work. They need a lot of attention and everything, but I'll always make it work for my babies. Hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See ya!